Talks, I'm Cathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, scenes from EDSA just a few minutes ago as Filipinos marked 40 years of People Power Revolution. Protesters also staging the 3rd trillion peso march in EDSA. Our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes, will be reporting on the situation on the ground. Also, Bob Herrera Lim, Managing Director of Teneo, joins us for his views. In the first high-level business and investment event of the Philippines ASEAN 2026 chairship, President Bongbong Marcos calls for deeper cooperation to restore ASEAN as a global economic driver. And the latest credit actions in the Philippine property sector paint an important picture of risk and resilience in the economy. What does it mean for the country's sovereign ratings? We speak with Emmanuel Noel Leco, President and Chief Economist of Credit Rating and Investor Services Philippines, Inc. In 1986, hundreds of thousands of Filipinos trooped to EDSA to stage a peaceful revolution which toppled the 20-year dictatorship of then-President Ferdinand Marcos. After 40 years, people trooped to EDSA, calling for accountability in a corruption scandal that has far-reaching effects not just on the economy, but also on governance and public trust. Our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes, is joining us live from the EDSA Shrine in Quezon City. Good morning, Merimon. So, how is the situation there?
Cathy, good morning. Just an hour ago, the EDSOR or the EDSA Ortigas schools, comprising of schools along EDSA Ortigas, that includes yung Lasal, Green Hills, ang Xavier, pati ang Poveda, they went here at the EDSA Shrine to conduct a prayer of the Holy Rosary. After that, nagkaroon ng offering ng flowers and then pumunta na sila sa Poveda for a separate Eucharistic Mass. Pero on the sides din, aside from the celebration of the 40th anniversary of the People Power Revolution, itong trillion people march naman, pinaka sinasabi dito ni Tindig Pilipinas co-convener Kiko Aquino D, they have just the same message, yung essence daw ng power in numbers, ng People Power Revolution, and ang focus din nila dito ay yung kanilang mensahe ukol sa accountability, sa transparency, their calls for the passing of an anti-political dynasty law, yung pagbubuo ng Independent People's Commission, and they welcome anyone and everyone who would like to join the activities for this day as long as ito ay nasusunod sa saligang batas, meaning no calls for coup d'etat, walang iluluklok sa posisyon sa gobyerno na hindi dumadaan sa eleksyon, walang calling out sa sandatahang lakas, and everything should be peaceful as much as possible. Dito sa likuran natin, kanina lang, umalis yung pumunta dito na Federation of Labor Unions. And sila mismo ngayon, sumunod na, naglakad na sila papuntang People Power Monument. So, ang naiiwan muna sa paligid ngayon ng EDSA ay ang mga kapulisan from the NCRPO. This day, over 14,000 policemen ang deployed. Kasama na rin dyan yung regional police from Region 3, Region 4A to ensure yung safety and security ngayong araw. Aside from that, road closures ang apektado dito, ang EDSA Avenue, ang Kalayaan, ang Katipunan Avenue, ang Ortigas Avenue, pati ang White Plains. Cathy.
Okay, maraming salamat sa update. Our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes, live from the EDSA Shrine. In other news, President Bongbong Marcos is pushing to restore ASEAN's role as a global economic driver as the Philippines chairs the regional bloc this year. Speaking at the ASEAN Editors and Economic Opinion Leaders Forum, Marcos said ASEAN centrality must remain at the heart of its strategy for economic recovery. He stressed that while member states differ in size and development, they share a common goal to move forward as one region.
I think we share the aspiration, all member states share the aspiration that ASEAN should return to its old role of being a global economic driver. Even achieving that will be done in many different ways depending on which country you are talking about. But we have to do it in consonance with one another so that we achieve our own national goals and at the same time achieve the goals that we have for ASEAN.
On the sidelines of the same forum, Trade Secretary Cristina Roque said bilateral trade talks between the Philippines and the U.S. are ongoing. This as the country has yet to finalize its next steps should U.S. President Donald Trump raise the global tariff rate on all exports to America from 10 to 15%. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Trump's sweeping tariffs imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act were illegal.
Continuous ang talks with the US. We haven't spoken with the other members of ASEAN kasi for now talaga nakafocus tayo sa chairship ng ASEAN.
The forum held in Makati marks the first major event under the Philippines ASEAN 2026 chairship, focusing on making regional economic issues more relevant to ordinary citizens. All these amid the challenge of keeping grounded by the realities of the economic after effects of a government flood control corruption scandal. Joining us today is Bob Herrera Lim, the Managing Director at Teneo, a global CEO advisory and a consulting firm. It's good seeing you again, Bob. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Cathy.
All right, so we're talking on the final day of EDSA's 40th year. In line with your latest report, Bob, how do you see today's Duterte-Marcos rivalry fitting into the long arc that runs from Marcos Sr. to EDSA to Duterte and now to 2028?
Okay, I think there are three ideas I'd like to put forward. One is people are still disappointed. I would say are ambivalent, ambiguous about how they should see EDSA. You know, it was definitely a needed thing at that time to break the Marcos regime. But at the same time, people are saying, what progress have we made, right? You know, to be fair, there's been a good amount of economic progress. But at the same time, people look at other countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and they see that these countries have sort of jumped over us, and they're asking, therefore, what has EDSA delivered? That is a continuing part of the debate. And this falls into the Duterte versus Marcos battle right now because Duterte is saying Marcos is an ineffective leader, that he's part of the oligarchic elites that have kept the country down. On the other hand, the Marcoses are saying that Duterte is just part of a corrupt system, and worse, that he inflicted some of the worst social violence on the country. So it's still a very difficult situation for the country. And a large part of it is that our institutions are still weak, right? Whether you are talking about institutions that deal with law and order and criminality, or institutions that ensure long-term growth or improve long-term growth by developing different sectors, whether it's manufacturing, services, our ability to export, there's still a lot of, at the end of the day, unfinished, unanswered questions.
Indeed, there are, and parallel activities alongside EDSA 40 rallies. As you know, there's that trillion peso march and the counter narratives online. So if you were to brief a foreign investor, a tourist, or a visiting OFW, what would you tell them to watch or to monitor today to truly understand where Philippine democracy stands 40 years on?
First thing I tell them is it's not as bad as anyone will tell you. It's not as good as somebody else might tell you. We're always somewhere in between. So if you are a foreign investor and you have a tolerance for some of the risks and you have an ability to sort of find where the opportunities are, you know, in the past 10 years, that was BPO, right? That was BPO. You could set up something here and it could be productive and economically viable. But at the same time, if you're a different kind of investor, someone needing ports, roads, rail access, quick bureaucratic action, a BIR that is predictable, that's the difficult part of the equation. So anyone thinking of investing billions and billions of dollars requiring good institutional infrastructure would struggle to find a justifiable investment case for the Philippines. So I think that's one of the things I mentioned to foreign investors. And for tourists, it's the same, right? If you're patient, if you're willing to go the extra mile, there are magnificent places to go in the Philippines. If you are looking for a Thailand experience, right? Something like Phuket, or like something that is based on well built up infrastructure, integrated, etc., you are going to be a bit frustrated in the Philippines. So it's never a binary outcome, but there are challenges in both regards.
Right, and when you come to think of it, we're in that space where it's 3 years away, 2 years away from the next national elections. You describe Sara Duterte's early declaration as coming at a time of an impeachment noise, legal jeopardy, shifting alliances. So from a political risk lens, what is the single most important signal you think investors and the public should take from the timing and framing of her announcement?
Yeah, so Duterte knows that she is leading in the polls. She knows that she is the front runner, and she's probably hoping that by doing so, she consolidates not only her voters, right? The people who will stick with her to the very end, but maybe some undecided voters who could bandwagon and who could be vulnerable to seeing like Duterte is better than Marcos. The two things we will watch is one, the ability of what you might call the anti-Duterte opposition, their ability to consolidate, to unite behind a certain candidate, or maybe in a certain circumstance to field a candidate that could divide the Duterte votes. The latter is going to be very difficult. So we are looking at how the opposition consolidates, and that opposition is not only the Marcos administration, but also what you might call the middle. Let's use the term the kakampings. It used to be called that, right? So that's the first thing that we're watching. The second is, can Sara withstand future attacks? Because definitely she will be attacked on corruption allegations. I don't think the impeachment will go anywhere, but many of her activities will be brought to light. It will be a very polarizing environment for the next 2 years in the Philippines.
All right. Well, so many moving parts there, 40 years on. Thank you so much for your insights, as always. Bob Herrera Lim of Teneo. And you're watching Money Talks, coming right up. Day 2 of the confirmation hearing charges of former President Rodrigo Duterte at the ICC in The Hague. We have a recap from our kapatid, Angela Lagunzad Castro. And U.S. President Donald Trump is set to deliver the first State of the Union address for his second term. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. The confirmation of charges hearing against former President Rodrigo Duterte at the International Criminal Court entered its second day, with prosecutors presenting more evidence and identifying additional alleged co-perpetrators. For details, One News anchor Angela Lagunsad Castro is reporting live in The Hague in the Netherlands. So Angela, what were the key developments in the confirmation hearing?
Hi, Cathy. The second confirmation of charges hearing in the International Criminal Court in Hague, Netherlands, of the former President Rodrigo Duterte has already wrapped up yesterday. It highlighted the Duterte list, or the death list, as what the prosecution would describe it. It refers to alleged list of people suspected of involvement in illegal drugs who were said to be targets during the anti-drug campaign. Prosecutors pointed to the list to support their claim that the killings were not random but organized. The names on the list were used in operations that led to killings. Meanwhile, during the submission on merits of the common legal representatives for the victims, some members of the family of EJK victims can't help but be teary-eyed as the CLRs present the victims of the alleged drug war. It detailed how they were killed and how they were found. But the gallery in the court is very strict and you are not allowed to show any emotion. Cathy, kahit medyo makatulog ka doon, bawal din because lalapitan ka ng mga guard. But you can tell that the atmosphere was gloomy. Again, for the victims, this confirmation of charges is a step forward to accountability, while as for the defense, this is an opportunity for them to defend Duterte and present evidence that would prove Duterte has nothing to do with the killings. So tomorrow is going to be the defense opportunity, February 26. It's their opportunity to lay out the merits of the case. So yun po yung aabangan natin tomorrow. And on Friday, February 27, is the continuation of the submission on merits by the defense and the closing statements from the three panels, or the three panels involved. That would be the defense, the prosecution, and the victims through their legal counsel. And that is the latest here at The Hague. This is Angela. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. We get a bit of a break today and then resume tomorrow. Thank you. One News anchor Angela Lagunsad Castro. The Makati Business Club commends the Bureau of Internal Revenue for filing cases on the alleged misuse and weaponization of letters of authority inside the agency. In a statement, MBC said that they applaud Tax Chief Charlito Mendoza for pressing charges against 25 BIR personnel allegedly misusing and weaponizing LOAs. MBA said this is a significant step towards upholding integrity and accountability within the country's tax administration. This, they said, will also help improve ease of doing business and boost investor confidence. An LOA from the BIR is a document empowering an examiner to check a taxpayer's books. And checking in on the markets, U.S. stocks closed higher Tuesday, lifted by renewed optimism around the AI boom. The Dow and the S&P 500 each gained by about 0.8%. The Nasdaq rose by about 1%. The benchmark 10-year Treasury yields edged up to 4.032%, and gold prices slipped to $5,155 per ounce. Stock futures are up in after-hours trading. The Dow, the S&P advancing by about 0.1% each, and the Nasdaq climbs by 0.2%. As for Asian markets, they're trading higher this Wednesday. Japan's Nikkei 225 up over 1%, and both Australia's ASX 200 and South Korea's Kospi climbs by 0.8% each. And a look at our own markets as the PSEI opens this Wednesday. It is higher by about 0.1%, 6,551. The local bourse extended its winning streak yesterday, climbing about 1% to more than a 9-month high as investors loaded up on blue chips. As for the Philippine peso, it opens today weaker, 57.80 to the dollar. The local currency closed weaker yesterday at 57.755 against the greenback after fresh uncertainty over the U.S. tariff policy. And the 10-year government bond yields have ticked down to 5.947%. In corporate news, Maynilad posted a net income of 15.2 billion for 2025, up by 19% from the previous year. Maynilad President and CEO Ramoncito Fernandez said 2025 was the company's best year, marked by strong consolidated financial performance and service improvements. Maynilad's revenues rose by over 9% to nearly 37 billion pesos from 33 billion in the previous year, on the back of higher tariffs and stable build connections. For 2026, the company's earmarked 30 billion pesos for capital expenditure on water and wastewater projects. And the latest credit actions in the Philippine property sector paint an important picture of risk and resilience in the economy. The macro picture shows slower growth and weaker household consumption, compounded by a corruption scandal that has dampened investor and consumer sentiment. So how are these micro and macro signals shaping the country's sovereign credit story? With us for more is Emmanuel Noel Leco, the President and Chief Economist of Credit Rating and Investor Services Philippines, Inc., and Fellow, Center for People Empowerment in Governance, or CENPEG. It's good to have you back, Noel. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay, so let's start with property, because that picture in property you have defined in two property firms, and that's Century Property as well as Vista Land.
Yes.
What have you come up with?
Okay, let's just put this in context. A few weeks ago, the President highlighted the role of the government in the property sector in housing, providing housing for our community. But I think we know that the government alone cannot do that, and therefore we need the private sector. And the private sector has been doing this for quite some time now. Recently, we issued credit ratings, so reaffirming both issuer ratings for Century Properties and Vista Land. These are two different issuers. We see Century Properties Group, Inc., as a rising star in the property sector that has established its footing in the vertical housing in the beginning. But about 7 years ago, they started getting into horizontal housing. And I think that was a very timely move on the part of Century. Why? Because right now, if anybody is going to vertical housing, the market is really soft. Not many are getting into the vertical housing.
What about Vista Land?
Vista Land is a major player, it's a veteran. However, in the last few months, they were having issues with high debt. They have debt maturities. Like, for example, in 2026, they will have about 31 billion pesos maturing, and therefore we'd like to make sure that we are the first to know what's happening there. We put the Vista Land issuer rating in credit monitor. The major reason for that is maturing debt, 31 billion, and also they have dollar exposure. And given the volatility in the peso dollar exchange rate, we'd like to know how that is developing from their end, and therefore we put them in a in a closer surveillance credit monitor. But we are confident that they will be able to manage.
Well, the market chatter we're getting here is that, and this is according to what we're hearing from sources.
Okay.
Unless a massive white knight investor or a significant political intervention emerges to stabilize the credit lines, the Conglo will face involuntary liquidation by the middle of this year. Okay. How plausible is that?
That's not what we saw for Vista Land. Remember, it's a conglomerate, like you said. They might be talking about other branches or other businesses of the conglomerate. But Vista Land, we saw a massive land bank and still being able to manage their debt. They have financiers, and banks are still ready to do business with them. Recently, they did 11.6 billion pesos. They extended to Vista Land. So we think that this will continue. But be that as it may, we will be the first to know. And we will report to the community, to the public,
And that better
what's
be-
going on.
For Money Talks to be the first to know, it's two different pictures you show of one sector and its property. And the fact that this is happening in a situation where we have a slowing economy and the after effects, the economic after effects of a flood control scandal involving infrastructure that's cut back in private spending, I'm now wondering, what impact will this have on our credit ratings and credit risk?
Okay, the last credit rating review that we saw was November 2025. They have not shown the actual growth rate, GDP growth rate of the Philippines that went down to about 4.4%. That is not what they were projecting. They were projecting something like 4.8 or even higher than 5%. So when the new numbers came in, the actual numbers came in, I'm sure the other credit rating agencies will also take a look. Are we are we in solid ground giving the country rating, the sovereign rating of BBB+. Remember, BBB+ is an investment grade, but that is just one notch away from an A+ or an A category, which is great.
Are we at risk of a sovereign ratings cut?
We could be at risk if the government is not able to show sound fiscal management, fiscal policy, just like what the Bangko Sentral governor said. The monetary policy can only do so much in managing the total economy. Fiscal discipline will have to come in, and the government will have to show that it's seriously managing the economy, managing its debt, managing its budget, and the government is able to show to the people that whatever plunder or whatever misuse of our government funds happened in the past, that is now being addressed.
All right. Well, we'll pick up on the fiscal picture as soon as we get more information from the fiscal side of government. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Much
Thank
appreciate
you.
the insights. Noel Leco of Senpeg and CRISP. In just a few minutes, U.S. President Donald Trump will deliver his first State of the Union address for his second term. Days after the Supreme Court overturned Trump's emergency power tariffs, investors are now preparing for a speech that could touch on potentially market-moving policies from trade to affordability to Iran. Some White House officials told Reuters peace deals and stock market gains will be tackled in the speech. Last year, Trump gave a 100-minute speech to Congress focusing on foreign policy, congressional appeals, and affordability of basic goods to the U.S. And that is it for Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Kapatid, we are one news, all sides, all the time. Have a great day ahead.